During the First Great Ninja War, Tobirama Senju gave his life so that the newly named third Hokage and his teammates could escape from the hidden Cloud Ninja. It was a day that forever changed the Naruto universe because it signaled a changing of the guard. One of the last Kage who fought during the Warring States era had finally died. A new generation was coming to power. However, what if this never happened? What if Tobirama never died? How would the Naruto story change? Would it be for better or would it be for worse? In today's video, I plan to look at just that. In order for this scenario to occur, we have to first go back to Tobirama's death. As we all know, Tobirama died so that Sarutobi, who he had just named the third Hokage, could lead his team away from the battlefield. While the young ninja fled, Tobirama faced off against 20 elite ninja from the Hidden Cloud Village, which was led by the Gold and Silver Brothers. For those of you who might not recall, the Gold and Silver Brothers were the two ninja who possessed part of the kyuubi's chakra. Originally, Tobirama refused Sarutobi's offer to stand back and fight the 20 ninja and instead stayed behind to battle them to his death. In this scenario, Tobirama would make the cold but calculated decision to allow the young Sarutobi to stay behind as a decoy. It isn't too out of character. This is the very same man who invented the Edo Tensei Jutsu, which requires a human sacrifice in order to use. Tobirama's reasoning would be that he was a new Hokage of the Hidden Leaf Village, named earlier in the First Great Ninja War by his brother Hashirama Senju right before his death. It would signal instability in the village if, in the span of one war, the title of Hokage exchanged hands on 3 separate times. While Tobirama led the escape team, Sarutobi would summon the Monkey King Enma and hold his kunai in his hand and stare down the 20 ninja who closed in on him. In the battle that ensued, after producing shadow clones, showing his mastery over each of the 5 changes in chakra nature that he possessed. After a battle so intense that a Spartan would approve of, Sarutobi would likely be killed by one of the Gold and Silver Brothers. However, his death wouldn't be in vain, since Tobirama and his team would have gotten away to safety. This would mean that Sarutobi would die in his early 20s, just on the cusp of reaching his physical prime. In the months afterwards, Tobirama would likely be the one who killed the Gold and Silver Brothers, more motivated than ever, since they would have killed his now deceased student in Sarutobi. On a very important side note, Sarutobi's death means that Asuma would never be born, and neither would Konohamaru. The First Great Ninja War would eventually come to an end, resulting in the treaty that lasted for 20 years, but there would be some major differences. Tobirama would take a harder stance than Sarutobi originally did in the peace talk. Given Tobirama wanted to sell the tailed beasts to the 5 great nations, whereas Hashirama wanted to give them away as a way to prevent more bloodshed, I see no reason why he wouldn't ask for payment from the villages. During the time of peace, some major and minor changes would occur. Since we don't know how the Uchiha who was on Danzo's team died, I'm gonna assume that he still dies. Danzo would also likely catch the eye of Tobirama, since Danzo admired the second Hokage, and it could be argued that some of Danzo's ideologies came from the second Hokage himself. The Konoha school system would continue to flourish. Tobirama would still have one of his Anbu watching the Uchiha clan, which should have been covered in a video that came out before this one. A major change that would still occur is Tsunade would likely be a lot stronger than she was originally. Given Tsunade was born 4 years before the start of the First Great Ninja War, Tobirama would most likely train her, along with the other 2 members of the legendary Sannin. Since Tsunade has an affinity for water release as stated in the 4th Naruto data book, I believe that she would be even more skilled when it came to ninjutsu, in particular when it comes to water style. Depending on your belief, Tsunade might even learn the Flying Thunder God ninjutsu. Meanwhile, Orochimaru would still likely become fascinated by the many jutsu that Tobirama has invented. Also, with Tobirama growing older as the years go on, it's very possible that he finds some woman who is willing to take every inch of his water-style dragon as he pumps her full of Senju DNA to make a baby. If this happens, then Tobirama will become the father of a boy or a girl. Originally during this time of peace, the third Hokage acted aggressively in military military expansion and was one of the main leaders practicing imperialism, which means that he used military force to expand the territory of the Land of Fire. Given Tobirama is a bit more hard-edged than the third Hokage, it remains very possible that Tobirama will behave even more aggressively. This would ultimately cause a huge problem. In the series, the Second Great Ninja War was started in a big part due to the economic disparities between the ninja villages and also Konoha's aggressive military expansion, though there were other contributing factors. With Tobirama having already taken payment from the villages and now continuing to expand Konoha's territory despite the other nations forming factions, this could speed up the start of the Second Great Ninja War. However, if the war still starts on time, then Tobirama would be roughly 60 years old. The reason being is the Second Great Ninja War took place 20 years after the First Great Ninja War, and it can be assumed that Tobirama is the same age as Madara's brother Izuna, the younger brother of Madara Uchiha. This would mean that Tobirama wouldn't likely be on the battlefield during the Ninja War due to his age. From here, not much would change. At some point during the war, Jiraiya would train Nagato, Konan, and Yahiko. Just like it was stated in chapter 446, Jiraiya would lead the three war orphans after 3 years of training. After several years of fighting, the Second Great Ninja War would come to an end. In the many years afterwards, Jiraiya and Tsunade would still likely leave the village. Given Tsunade's fragile mind state after the war, I believe that Tobirama would grant her request to leave the village, which means that he would be more likely to do so for Jiraiya as well. Tobirama would be in his mid-60s by the end of the Second Great Ninja War and would need to name a new Hokage. Danzo would have been recognized by Tobirama as the rival of his dead student Sarutobi, and his personality would be more in line with Tobirama's line of thinking, which leads me to believe that Tobirama would make Danzo the third Hokage, since Tobirama's son would be too young to take up the mantle. Given that Danzo had Orochimaru make the Sharingan arm for him, while Danzo had Orochimaru as a member of the Root organization, I believe that Orochimaru would eventually have access to the Forbidden Scrolls in the years that followed. The Third Great Ninja War would take place as it did originally. Minato would go on to make his name in the war as the Yellow Flash, taking out 1,000 ninja by himself and fighting against Unruly A and Killer B. Obito Uchiha would still likely go on to fall into the clutches of Madara Uchiha, which means that Kakashi would get the nickname of Kakashi of the Sharingan. This is where Danzo being Hokage would spark a major change. In the anime, in particular a filler episode, it was revealed that the third Hokage and Inoki came to a peace treaty because both sides grew weary of all the fighting and all the heavy casualties. Also, it was revealed that Minato stopping the invasion of 1,000 rock ninjas single-handedly pushed Inoki to accept the terms of the peace treaty. I don't believe for 1 second that Danzo would agree to a peace treaty unless there were extremely harsh penalties for the other villages involved in the ninja war. If the war ends on time, then it will be 1 year before the birth of Naruto Uzumaki. Though Danzo wouldn't have a need to form an alliance with Hanzo, I do believe that Obito and Zetsu would find a way to have Nagato witness the death of Yahiko, which means that Nagato would form the new Akatsuki alongside Obito and Konan. On the day of Naruto's birth, there would be a few changes that exist. Kushina Uzumaki would likely still give birth inside of the barrier seal. Since the third Hokage wasn't nearby for Naruto's birth, I don't believe that Danzo would be at this site. This would mean that Obito would eventually extract the kyuubi from Kushina, which would lead to the Nine Tails attacking the village. Though Danzo would have his Sharingan arm, which, to restate one more time, was made by Orochimaru before the Uchiha Massacre, I don't believe he would run the risk of using it unless he absolutely had to. Controlling the kyuubi would be key, but there would be too many people there to watch him use his Sharingan. Ultimately, this would mean that Minato would use the Flying Thunder God Jutsu to teleport the Biju Bomb fired by the kyuubi and then teleport the kyuubi back to Kushina and Naruto. This is where a huge change would occur, the death of Minato. A very strong argument can be made that Minato wouldn't die. Just to refresh your memory, in chapter 503 and chapter 504, Kushina states multiple times that she wanted Minato to raise Naruto and that she would drag the kyuubi with her to her grave. In chapter 504, Minato said that he couldn't allow her to do so because it would disrupt the balance of tailed beasts between the nations. You can argue that in this scenario, Minato would be a father and not a hokage, which means that he would be more willing to let his wife give her life so that he can raise their son like she wished. However, I still believe that he will use the Reaper Death Seal so as to ensure that the balance of tailed beasts remains intact between the nations and that their son Naruto would be more than able to take down the masked man who he believed at the time to be Madara Uchiha. It would be here that another drastic set of changes would occur. Danzo would very likely keep Naruto locked away in solitude. Danzo would be in position to push his agenda against the Uchiha clan. Not even Tobirama would object to them being pushed to the outskirts of the village during the reconstruction period, since it will be the second time in his lifetime that the kyuubi has attacked his village. Like Danzo, he would likely suspect the Uchiha clan. However, I do believe he would convince Danzo not to go too far in punishing the clan. The main reason is that Tobirama was a jerk towards the Uchiha, but he also had his promise to Hashirama not to mistreat them, and as we all know, that didn't exactly go according to plan. By the time Sasuke enrolls in the academy, I could see Tobirama finally passing away. The reason being is that he would be in his late 70s, while Onoki was in his late 70s during the second part of the manga and in his early 90s during chapter 700 of Naruto. I do believe the harsh life that Tobirama lived would see him dying here in his late 70s. It would be at this point Danzo would begin to ramp up his mistreatment of the Uchiha clan, since Tobirama would no longer be in his ear to stop him. I believe that given his relationship with Orochimaru, that Orochimaru would still be in the village, since there would be no need for him to become a rogue ninja. This would mean that Orochimaru could turn missing academy ninja into test tube babies and played hide the snake with whatever child prodigy caught his eyes. By this point, Shisui and Itachi would become well-known ninja and would eventually be forced to tell the Hokage and the elders that the Uchiha clan planned to rebel against the village. I could foresee Danzo still having Shisui poisoned before he took his eye, as stated in the second Itachi Shinden novel Midnight. Originally, Danzo approached Itachi with the intention of having him massacre the Uchiha clan and twisted his arm by saying that Sarutobi would likely move to protect the village if negotiations with Fugaku broke down. After the Uchiha Massacre, Danzo would allow Orochimaru to slink and slither around the Uchiha compound, looking for random Uchiha to turn into test tube subjects to conduct experiments on, and for his own sick and twisted fetishes to use their bodies for whatever reason he deemed necessary. Meanwhile, Naruto would be kept on an extremely tight rope. While it's possible that Danzo might allow Naruto to enter the academy so as to become a better weapon for the ninja, it's also possible that Naruto is kept from the academy. Instead, he would be trained deep underground, isolated from the village and left emotionless. This would mean that Naruto would never play his legendary pranks on the village, annoy the hell out of his classmates, and most importantly, he would never know the taste of Ichiraku ramen, and he would never know what it's like to look at Sakura pine after Sasuke and to know that Hinata was watching him do so from behind a corner. In my opinion, Danzo would likely keep Naruto secluded, let out only for training before shutting him back away. This would mean that Team 7 as we know would never get formed. Instead, Kakashi would oversee a team of Sasuke, Sakura, and whatever fodder ninja is placed on the team. This would mean that Hinata would never get a tingly feeling between her legs as she hid behind a garbage can, twiddling her thumbs as she watched Naruto Uzumaki train. With no Naruto, Hinata would sit in the corner of the Hyuga compound, fresh from a can of whip ass that Hanabi opened on her during the training match, and Hinata would struggle to come up with her own ninja way. By the time the Land of Waves arc occurs, a major change would likely occur. Originally, Kakashi led Team 7 on an escort mission to the Land of Waves, where Zabuza faced off with his team in battle, and was caught in Zabuza's jutsu. In the combined efforts of Naruto and Sasuke, who devised their plan to free Kakashi, improvising as they went. Given that Sasuke's team would be assigned whoever scored the lowest test scores on the academy exam, just like Naruto did originally, I doubt that whoever was on the team would come up with the same plan that Naruto did. This would mean that Sasuke would eventually have to make a decision. Does he risk following Kakashi's order for Team 7 to take Tazuna and run the risk of being hunted down by Zabuza, or does he stay to try and fight? Given the severe gap in skill, I see no reason to doubt that Zabuza's water clone wouldn't start to kill off the members of Team 7 right before Kakashi's eyes. If, by some miracle, the cloth over Kakashi's mouth doesn't get soaked with enough water to make him choke to death, I could see Kakashi consciously awakening his Mangekyo Sharingan, since in this part of the story he didn't know that he already had it. If Zabuza kills Sakura first, then I could see Sasuke consciously awakening his Sharingan as well, since on the night of the Uchiha Massacre he briefly awakened it, but he wasn't aware of it. If things happen in this manner, then Kakashi would immediately use Kamui to snipe Zabuza's head, and thus releasing the jutsu that he was trapped under. As the water pooled around Kakashi's body, he would look up at the sight of Sasuke standing over a dead bodies of Sakura and whatever fodder ninja was assigned to them. Having gone so far already, I could see Kakashi sending a message to Danzo about what happened, while also continuing to escort Tazuna to the village. If Haku were to show up, I have no reason to believe that Kakashi wouldn't be able to defeat him in battle as well. The Great Naruto Bridge would go on to be completed, though Tazuna's deceit having led to the death of two Genin, I could see Danzo taxing the Land of Waves on any profit that they made on the Great Naruto Bridge. By the time the Chunin exams rolled around, Sasuke wouldn't be allowed to take the exam unless a special exception was made for him to participate without a team. Orochimaru still being in the village means that there would be no joint invasion by the Hidden Sound Village or the Hidden Sand Village. While it is possible that the Sand moves to invade the Hidden Leaf Village, I'm not too sure that this happens, since it can be argued that Orochimaru played a huge role in the invasion happening in the first place. Originally, Orochimaru was the one who approached the Hidden Sand Village about invading. I could see the 4th Kazekage seeking to use the Chunin exams as a way to highlight the strength of the Hidden Sand Village, which would make his feudal lord increase the funding for the village and cause missions not to be sent to the Hidden Leaf Village. If this happens, there will be no need for an invasion. The Chunin exams would likely proceed much like they did originally, minus the act of war by the Sand Village, though Orochimaru wouldn't have to sneak around the village. Without Naruto there to give Hinata the motivation to fight Neji, Neji would likely talk Hinata into quitting the match. If Hinata did go forward with the match, then Neji would take several gentle fists, turn them some bitches sideways, and shove them up Hinata's ass, beating her within an inch of her life, before the Jonin step in to stop him from killing her. Kiba would likely win his match, since he wouldn't have to smell the ramen flavored fart of Naruto Uzumaki like he did when Naruto farted in his face in the original story. In my opinion, Jiraiya would still come back to the village, partly to keep an eye on the naked women bathing in the bathhouses, but also to check on his godson Naruto. Upon discovering that there was no sign of him, I believe that Jiraiya would search through every crack of the Hidden Leaf Village for Naruto, while making a point to stop at every bathhouse that he ran across. Meanwhile, Gaara easily dominates the Chunin exams before being declared the winner with ease. I do believe that Danzo would get confronted by Jiraiya, and Jiraiya would demand to know what happened to Naruto, or insist that he take custody on him since he is his godfather. In most cases, I could see the elders siding with Danzo, much like they did originally in the story, but I could see Jiraiya making a strong enough plea to convince them. However, if Jiraiya takes custody of Naruto, then I believe that two things would have to occur. 1. People would learn from a very mysterious leak that Naruto was the jinchuuriki of the kyuubi, and 2. Jiraiya would be forced to stay inside the village. I believe out of respect for his dead student, as well as out of guilt for how he handled his godson, I believe that Jiraiya would stay in the village, though I could see Jiraiya sulking in a corner from time to time as he realized that there were so many women across the world who he would never see bathed nude and he would never gain inspiration from, as he weaved the hand signs for a ninja boner no jutsu while he gathered his bottle of lotion to get the chakra flowing. I believe that Orochimaru will become even more fascinated with the Uchiha, and after years of studying the dead bodies of the Uchiha clan, I could see him working behind Danzo's back to take the body of Sasuke, first by angling to give him the curse mark, which Orochimaru would likely still research if he was given the opportunity to come and go out the village, as he would have to plot to take Sasuke's body behind Danzo's back, since Danzo would view having the Sharingan as a military asset. However, Kakashi's Mangekyo Sharingan could prove to be a problem. Kakashi would arguably be too powerful for him to confront, which would be a far cry from the first time that Orochimaru confronted him during the Chunin exams, where Kakashi flat out states that Orochimaru would have killed him. Orochimaru would have to orchestrate a situation for Kakashi to die so he could take Sasuke's body. Given Orochimaru would have several Uchiha's DNA at his disposal, as well as the first and second Hokage's DNA, I could see him using Edo Tensei to have Kakashi killed off in a high difficulty battle. From here, Sasuke could be transformed into Orochimaru's next vessel. Meanwhile, Obito would learn of Kakashi's death and move quickly to take back his Sharingan, regardless of where it ended up after Kakashi's death. This would mean that Obito would have both Mangekyo Sharingan, which poses a problem later on in the story. In the aftermath of all of this, Danzo would become furious. Not only had Kakashi been killed off, but Orochimaru had taken the body of Sasuke. When Itachi originally left the village, he threatened to leak out secrets of Konoha to enemy villages if anything happened to Sasuke. It's for this reason Danzo would have two options to try and keep things under wrap. Option 1, he could try to keep things under wrap in order for Itachi to be tracked down and killed, or he could attempt to have Orochimaru assassinated. In either instance, vital info of the village would be leaked out, thus placing the Hidden Leaf Village at a strategic disadvantage. Over the next 3 years, Jiraiya would train Naruto, while bringing out more of the personality that he inherited from Kushina Uzumaki. Naruto will latch onto Jiraiya emotionally, more so than he did originally, since this would be his first real interaction with someone who treated him like a human and not like a weapon. However, with Orochimaru never having joined Akatsuki, it remains possible that the village never learns of the organization, though there exists a possibility that Danzo is resourceful enough that he becomes aware of their activity. If this is the case, after Gaara gets the One Tails extracted from him, Naruto will be placed on full lockdown, never being allowed to set foot out of the village ever again. The Akatsuki would take advantage of the villages being divided and hunt down the jinchuuriki. Orochimaru now needs to be brought up. The living corpse jutsu has a 3-year limit before the host rejects Orochimaru's body, which means that he would likely have taken steps to ensure that he could continue to use Sasuke's body. The most ideal method would be cloning, since he had already created Shin to create Danzo's Sharingan arm back when he was a member of the Root organization. Also, given Kabuto's words in the manga to the revived Madara Uchiha, we can assume that Orochimaru would suspect that Senju DNA and Uchiha DNA mixed together brings about the Rinnegan. If Orochimaru injects Sasuke with Senju DNA, then he might not awaken the Rinnegan right away, since Madara did say that it took him several decades to awaken the Rinnegan. Regardless, Orochimaru, now in possession of Sharingan, turns everything upside down. With Orochimaru able to use clones of Sasuke to use the living corpse jutsu to transfer his consciousness, Orochimaru will have a new body to use for the next 3 years. While the Akatsuki hunted down the jinchuuriki, Itachi would likely begin his own hunt for Orochimaru. Asuma never being born means that Hidan and Kakuzu wouldn't have much more incentive to head to Konoha. The only reason they were in the Land of Fire was to track down Chiriku so Kakuzu could collect his bounty. The kyuubi needed to be sealed away last, and Naruto was assigned to Itachi, making it less likely that Kakuzu and Hidan head to the Hidden Leaf Village. Itachi would likely find Orochimaru and become enraged at the sight of his younger brother being used by the legendary Sannin. Given all of Orochimaru's research on the Sharingan, I could see a scenario where Sasuke's body does have the Mangekyo, since the Shin clones and Naruto Gaiden had Mangekyo. This would place Orochimaru against Itachi. I could see a scenario where the main reason Itachi holds the advantage in this fight is his longer mastery of the Sharingan. Eventually, I could see Itachi resorting to using the Totsuka blade to seal away Orochimaru. With the loss of Itachi, I could see Obito taking his eyes, since we know Obito has a habit of collecting Sharingan. With the Akatsuki now down a member, I could see Obito pretending to be Tobi joining up with Kisame. This is where it gets really interesting. If Kisame and Tobi are sent after the Eight Tails, then Killer Bee very well could end up being captured. B would do very well against Kisame, but Obito would eventually step in to fight seriously, since as the longer the fight goes on, the more likely the Raikage would arrive on the scene. With Obito in possession of both Sharingan, B has no chance of not being captured before the Raikage arrives. The Raikage would arrive at the battlefield and be furious, since it will be clear that B was kidnapped by someone. It's possible that A calls for a 5 Kage summit, and if he does so, Danzo would likely be targeted as the culprit, since his village would be the only one left with a jinchuuriki. However, in my opinion, while this is highly likely, I do believe that the Akatsuki would have the momentum on their side. It takes 3 days to travel between the Hidden Leaf Village and the Hidden Sand Village, which means that for other villages the time length could be even longer. I could see Obito telling Nagato to have the 8 tails and 9 tails sealed away back to back, like they did in the manga when they sealed away the 2 and the 3 tails. This would likely mean that Obito, pretending to be Toby, would take up the task of capturing the kyuubi, since it was Itachi's original target. Using Kamui, he would warp into the village. Obito and Kisame will begin hunting down Naruto. If they run into Jiraiya, the fight would be intense, but since Jiraiya isn't a perfect sage, I believe that he would struggle in this fight. Between Kisame's enormous chakra and Obito having both Mangekyo Sharingan, Jiraiya will fight a very valiant fight, but in the end he most likely falls in battle. The high level ninjutsu being thrown around in the battle will lead to more Jonin and Chunin arriving to strike down the Akatsuki duo. However, while Kisame runs through the Hidden Leaf Village ninja, Obito would likely intercept Naruto before he's whisked away by Danzo to be kept safe. The same can be said if Naruto arrives to back up Jiraiya. In either case, Naruto would be beaten within an inch of his life and sealed away alongside Killer B. Just as Nagato prepares to celebrate, Zetsu would surprise the Akatsuki by betraying Nagato, forcing him to use the Rini Rebirth Jutsu to revive Madara Uchiha. While everyone enters into a rage at the betrayal, Obito would be faced with staring down the remaining Akatsuki members. Even for Obito, fighting this many S-Class ninja alone would prove to be difficult, but the moment Madara Uchiha is revived, I see no reason that the two of them wouldn't be able to kill off the remaining Akatsuki members, especially when Madara rips his Rinnegan out of both of Nagato's eyes. Given Madara's personality, I could see him dragging out some of the fights, but the moment he decided to get serious, I could see him using the human path to rip out the souls of the more troublesome ninja like Kakuzu, Hidan, and Kisame. It will be at this point that the Infinite Tsukiyomi will be activated and Kaguya will be revived. That's it for my video today, guys. Just as a side note, I try to write down every what if suggestion you guys give me, but in order to make your suggestions easier to find, I want you guys to use a hashtag #WhatIf, and then after giving a space, I want you to give me your suggestion so I can find it. So as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Have an awesome day, guys.